Okay, well, we're getting towards the end of this thing. This is the end game portion. We're kicking off round 6. Our yellow jacket VTOL support, that's all long gone. And looks like we've got 3 of our Hail artillery vehicles loaded down with fast cam still kicking around. Looks like we've got another 2 turns of cooldown to wait before we can fire off that tag barrage again. So now we're just looking to see if we can maneuver and do something. um, we've got these BAM units that have the high mobility that can move around fairly well, and they've had some really great survivability, but they just don't have the punch to get anything done. So here we are, we're shooting some fast cam at that ambush unit that sneaks up behind us, just to kind of slow them down and fix them in place. And it looks like we're going to come over here and see if we can't split up our units. I think, it looks like we got a little bit of a break from the big monster artillery strike. So at this point, it makes sense to kind of split up our units and try and increase our survivability that way. Got a great unit there. Tank unit, you got that Magi. Although the loadout on it isn't terribly threatening. We got 3 medium lasers, some machine guns, but it's a vehicle I haven't seen before. So I think we're going to see if we can't fix that guy in place or give him a little bit of hate and discontent. Yeah, I can't continue to express enough how impressed I am with the fast cam. Just how effective it's really been. You would think 6 rounds in that most of these units were halfway up the hill by now, or chasing us halfway across the map, and they haven't really had an opportunity to do that. So out of everything, I would suspect that that's the big win, just to see that battlefield covered in red fast cam icons. Makes it feel like we've done something anyway. Yeah, the Kintaro, he moved a little bit, moved into it. 6 landmines exploded. And I almost suspect that he wanted to move a little bit further, but as soon as he moved in, I think he got held up. Yellow Jacket's taking some pot shots at us. Yeah, the benefit of this map is that it was such a huge map, which is great because you need the mobility. You need to be able to get around. Even then, even with the size of the map and everything, we still ran into the edge of the map and had it kind of act as an additional, containment force to us, right? Because that once you get on the edge of the map and that big artillery comes in, that limits the direction that you can go to evade those big artillery strikes. So if you don't have the mobility that you do, say with these lambs, where you can move, 13, 14 hexes or whatever, sticking to the edges of the map may feel like a safe option, but the edge of the map can work against you. Now we're just trying to look for the best targets of opportunity here. I think a strategy of splitting forces, sending one team left and another team right, maybe sending one down the center, and then because we didn't get a lot of backshot opportunities even with our high mobility units. I think we only had a couple of green LOSs that popped up over the course of this battle, and of course it was against tanks that hitting the backside of a tank isn't really that effective actually. It seems like side armor is really the way to go when you're attacking tanks. At least when you're calling shots, it's a much more effective strategy. Got some structure exposed that Diva finally. Yeah, I think if we were able to bring some additional firepower, it stands to reason. You bring more firepower, you're going to do more damage, and you're going to work some more of these units down. So going with the counterintuitive strategy of, high mobility and nickel and diming these guys, it turned out exactly like maybe you would have predicted, right? Like, wow, yeah, there's just not enough weapons on the battlefield to get the job done. Take a look at these fast cams, though. They, kind of got that look of the, stealth fight, the new generation of stealth fighters to them. So, but with legs, because somehow that makes sense. As far as they went with this game, with adding unique units and different things, I'm almost surprised that we didn't get to play some aerospace units. I think it would have been kind of cool to come in and fly around, and of course, aerospace and tabletop and all that. And the speed scales never quite worked out. Which I guess it makes sense. You can call on your strafing run and it hits some units, and that's about all you could really do in tabletop. I think I attempted to play one game of Aero Tech back in the day, and it's Aero Tech. I know there's a whole aerospace and space battle component, and we tried to kind of play that out. And I think we just struggled trying to figure out like, okay, if you're gonna play this on tabletop, you're also gonna try and play it in 3 dimensions. Yeah, we struggled with that a little bit. It was always cool to go through those source books and just see the stats on a dropship and different elements that you could bring in. And I think the strategy too here at this point is maybe hoping we can take down enough mechs to get a good faith effort. In previous playthrough, I took out that ambushing squad that came up behind us, and that gave me a good faith effort. And that was when I was able to get the yellow jacket as one of the salvage pieces. So that was really cool. And so that's kind of what might be a valuable strategy, with this mission as well, is maybe you go, well, okay, taking out, the Rattler is maybe not going to happen. I mean, if you're going to play it straight up, if you just want to nuke it to death, something tells me you could bring enough nukes and baby Crockets to knock this thing out and get a win out of it. But that doesn't meet the requirements for the challenge. But maybe coming in, knocking out a few lances, and then withdrawing to get that good faith effort, and walking away with some neat salvage pieces, because the Word of Blake has a lot of cool stuff. Cool stuff that you can't really get anywhere else. And I haven't played around with trying to ally up with the Word of Blake. It seems like that would be possible. And then getting into their faction store and spying up everything that they got. I suppose that would be a worthwhile thing to do if you're interested in that Word of Blake stuff. I'm a big fan of the Tengu battle armor, because Word of Blake works in points of 6. So being able to bring 6 battle armor and fire 6 things, that's kind of neat. And if we do something with battle armor, trying to get it on there, that would definitely be the way to go. Maybe load it up with a bunch of PPCs. That's usually the way I go anyway. Or the little Gauss rifles, or the mag shots. Those are super fun, just because you get some range and you can actually do some real damage, especially if you get behind a light unit or medium unit. So I think I mentioned in the last segment that our fail condition for this mission would be, if we lost all of our hail artillery vehicles. We've only got 3 left, and now they're really going after the ones that remain. I almost think, at the end of round 1, I think I predicted, I was like, well, if you're losing 2 of these, VTOLs per round, you're not going to be sticking around past round 8. So, you can probably already tell how this thing's going to go. We're into the last segment, the quote unquote end game. You can kind of start to see how close we are to, defeating the Rattler. That's spoiler alert if you haven't figured it out already. It's not going to happen. But there's still value in the playthrough here, because there's still things to learn, right? We're looking at different behaviors, and we're looking at the different off-4 that it brings, and maybe just thinking through how we can come at this thing again. And I hope that there's a little bit of an interest in dedicated group of players to see if we can't crack this thing. I know the one guy who had posted on Reddit about trying to take this thing down, looks like he had posted maybe a year ago. And it seemed like he had taken a few attempts at it, but no significant updates since then. So assuming he's moved on. But I imagine there's at least a handful of crazy people who spend an inordinate amount of time in this game, who might really relish the idea of doing something that no one else has ever done before. I was hoping that maybe as we lost some units, some different things happened, that maybe the memory leaks would improve. But I think we got so many different things happening with the smoke and the fast cam, and everything. Helicopter blade spinning, that the frame rate is just not at all happy. But and I do not run a top of the line system, but of course it's a game that's, gosh, I think it came out in 2018, something like that. So it's 2025 now, so we're talking 8 years old. And I run an upper mid tier laptop. For those that are curious, it's the Asus Tough Gaming A16 Advantage Edition, AMD Ryzen 7000 series, and I don't know, maybe there's some other cool stats there that matter, but AMD Radeon DDR5 4800 megahertz. And I'm just reading the sticker I never took off my laptop, but it's a decent, mid to upper mid tier laptop, and it runs most of these scenarios just fine without very many hangups. But once you get this many units out there, it just it really struggles. I don't think it's a graphics thing at all. I think it's trying to process all the different possibilities and trying to know where all these different units and entities and whatever else is happening in the background. And if I was better, I'm not a content editor, I'm not a YouTube person, don't make a whole lot of this stuff. My only interest is trying to show this Rattler challenge. So I imagine somebody with some better skills could probably put together, or just edit some of this stuff out. That seems like a lot of work. I imagine most people will do like I do and kind of fast forward to the end, just to see what the outcome is. But if you stuck around this long, that's super rad. Hope you're enjoying what you're seeing. Yeah, I know it's a little bit of a slog. I think I'm gonna put together a nice little recon report. Go through and get some screen grabs of everything here. Oh, and there we go. We're done another helicopter. Um, so yeah, we're very quickly racing towards what I considered my fail condition. That would leave us with two helicopter units, I think, and that's them right there. But yeah, maybe we can go through and pull some screenshots of at least the stats on the Rattler, because I kind of poked around on the old interwebs there and couldn't really get a complete sense of what we were dealing with, and just being able to get up visually close to this thing and inspect the different elements to kind of start to figure out how this thing's put together. Yeah, that's a huge reconnaissance win, right? Yeah, I imagine most people have their first experience with this thing. They drop in onto Terra and they go, oh, what is this aggro crag Rattler thing? Okay, yeah, I'll give that a shot. And they just run into the buzzsaw and they're like, oh, F that. And like, well, I'm not doing that again. I imagine a lot of people do that with the dropships too. Oh, and there goes. We're down to one fast cam hail artillery vehicle left here. So, yeah, helicopter pilots. We're gonna have to go back and rehire a lot of these guys. Actually, I can tell you already. I'm just gonna go back to the previous save. I don't have much interest in training up a whole bunch of new pilots. Because at this point, this is just all F around stuff that we're doing. We've already gone through and completed the majority of the main story. In fact, we've got to the point now where the storyline updates that come in on the Mk there have significantly slowed. We've gone through and done just about everything that we could do in a campaign. So now it's about what kind of different things can we explore and go check out. And there's still a lot. There's so many different factions and so many different pieces of equipment. And it looks like you can take excursions way out towards towards deep clan space. And like on one hand, it's like, well, I see the waypoints. I don't know what's really out there, but I think it might be worth going out and just exploring a little bit. There's been some really great fun surprises that have just been really, really enjoyable. The gaming world stuff. To be able to do the duels, the 2-on-2s and solos and the different weight classes and all of that. And of course, you do enough of that, and you earn some cool unique mech prizes. That's super rad and super fun. It took me going to Solaris and spending some time trying to learn how to do that. Because the way you set up a mech to handle a 2-on-1 situation or a 1-on-1 situation against often a superior foe, it's a little bit different how you might set up for say a siege on a city. And of course, my first few playthroughs, or in the early game, you get ambushed and you get thrown into these situations. You're forced into them, and you're not at all prepared for that at all. You try and throw the heaviest, biggest, meanest thing you can, and it just gets decimated. But all of a sudden, you learn that, oh yeah, mobility, that's a thing. We're going through here, and we're really just kind of following up on our. In fact, I think we're at the point where we know we're going to have to concede. So now it's just like, well, let's take a look at these different units they've got on the field, right? They've got these Yazadas. What are those 100? Those are super heavies, I think. So this is a good spot here to kind of take a look at the different Op 4, 130-ton units. What all is out there. What that right there. Take a look at that. Okay, this is big. Kalki cruise missile launcher. So I didn't realize until after the end of this whole thing how really important this piece was here. This is the cruise missile carrier. This is the thing that shoots the cruise missile at you, right? Like let me let that sink in one more time. That has the cruise missile, not the Rattler. So where I thought that this Rattler had this nuke on it, it's not. It is on a separate unit, right? So everything mentioned before about, can you get the Rattler to nuke itself? Well, actually, can you get this Kalki missile, cruise missile carrier to nuke its the Rattler, right? Is that a strategy? It definitely is a huge piece of intel there. So yeah, take note of that. Also notice it's not right up against the Rattler, and that means you could take it out. So that's taking nukes off the table, kids. If strategy 101. That's like the first thing you want to do, right? You're taking the big guns right off the table. Well, yeah, go shoot at the nuclear weapons before they shoot at you. So this was the value in playing through, even when all basically seems lost. Maybe it was a foregone conclusion by sometime back at round 5. You could probably start to see the writing on the wall for sure. But here we are, we're taking deeper dives and deeper looks at what we're looking at and trying to get some decent intel out of this experience. You can see we only did like less than 100 points of damage to that Rattler tower. There's that PPC strike that we put on the Rattler. So what we want to do is just come back and confirm the efficacy of does that PPC strike do the sensor debuff? And hopefully I'm going to click on it right now and find out, or maybe I'd already take a shot at it. But I'm narrating this after the fact, so I can tell you it does work. So you can sensor debuff this thing. So if you can come in and just PPC the heck out of this bad boy, um, that's a strategy, right? And those PPC strikes, the sensor debuffs, they do stack up. Theoretically, you could do it with a sensor. Yeah, I think we're gonna click on it right here. Come on. Waiting for me to try and do the thing that I did. There you go. So you can see on that Rattler tower, there it is. Okay, one difficult. So we hit one time, we got one sensor impairment. So that is confirmation, folks. So it is possible to debuff this thing. What I'm curious now is what I'm thinking. I was like, okay, well, okay, all the regular weapons you could debuff them, and it would have a hard time hitting you, especially with your evasion, right? You know, if you hit it 5 or 6 times per section, tough thing to do, but possibly doable. You know, all of its point defense weapons become, you know, a pretty late show, and then it's a matter of navigating the artillery. Now, does the sensor debuff affect artillery accuracy? That would be huge if it does. Because if now on one hand it's absolutely terrifying that some of this big artillery stuff would be flying around all willy-nilly, and maybe that spreads out how much artillery there is all over the field. But for your slower moving units, if that artillery strike, you know, targets one of your VTOLs and it's 5 or 6 hexes off, now you can get to the edge of that circle, right? So if you can affect this thing, you would be behooved to do so. Yeah, I think that is our last VTOL there. And the cooldown for that artillery, the tag barrage, as cool as exciting as that weapon is, it's just too long, I think, for this scenario. But I really do enjoy that tag barrage. I think it's just, yeah, the tag barrage is just a really fun weapon, you know, and it's totally different, operates totally different than anything else in the game, like I said. So go play with that. I like the idea of that as an early game unit. In fact, if I was doing a playthrough on all of this again, I would strongly recommend just and yeah, now they're going after the Phoenix Hawk unit there, and structure exposed. Even with an 11 evasion, they're still able to come in and impact that unit. So pretty crazy. But yeah, if I was doing another playthrough, I would head straight to Rasselhog and try to get in with those guys. You know, because the Hail artillery vehicle is exclusive to the Rasselhog, Free Rasselhog Republic there. But the other unit that's actually really stupid OP, in my opinion, is the Red Kite. You have this high mobility. It's listed as a VTOL, but it really does kind of look like an aerospace unit. But you know, you have this high mobility unit, and it's got like something like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 medium chemical lasers on that, and it is really easy to get around. Oh, and it's got like those chemical lasers are mounted on a turret, so you have fantastic, like, you know, field of fire from left to right. You know, easily a good, you know, 180 degrees, if not a little bit more. You know, field of fire there. So it is really easy to maneuver behind units and just pop medium chemical lasers into, you know, people's back. I ran around for a good portion of the mid game with 4, 5, 6 of these things, and I was just flying around and, you know, just decimating, you know, assault mechs and different things. You know, because once you take you know, 18 medium lasers to the back, good night, you're out, man. I don't care what you are. You know, you've got you know, a super kick-ass, you know, Daiichi, or, you know, a Warhawk, or even King Crabs and Atlases and Mackies and all the different things you come across. Even some of the super heavies in the really late game, no problem, right? Which is fun because you can take out a lot of units, get a lot of salvage, and you're beating the terrain, so you can really flip through and get this stuff, get a lot of this stuff really quick, build up your reserves. And they're just continuing. They knocked out the avionics there on our Phoenix Hawk, and you can see already. It's like once they you know, decides to kind of target a unit, they just go after it and until it's pretty much off the board, and it doesn't take much more than a round to take something off the board once they decide to focus on it there. Luckily, that's my my commander guy, so he's got to live. That's the one advantage, is you can't kill your guy, but he's also spent more time in the hospital than anybody else. And why the game hasn't shown mercy and automatically ejected him, I don't know. And I wish you could just hit the eject button any time, but it looks like, as far as I know, you gotta wait till, you know, your turn comes up. I think that's what I'm doing right there. I'm like, I keep trying to look and say, like, okay, is it gonna be my turn? Can I pop out of here? Do the right thing. You know, try and save some of the meat, right? Yeah, the fact that he's even still there is a bit of a surprise at this point. Hey, the good thing is well, now he's panicked. Now he panics. You know, there is such a thing as being too cool, I think. I haven't played any of the other mods, but as I've read around, it seems like some of the other mods can kind of adjust that panic function to where it makes a little bit more sense. I mean, it's such a huge improvement over the fact that, you know, over the vanilla game, where it's like, yeah, everybody just stuck it. Yeah, he's done. Into destroyed, pilot incapacitated, severe burns, collapse lung, simple fracture, barotraumer, broken ribs. Yeah, he's more machine than he is man now at this point. Yeah, we're getting towards the end of round 7 here. They're taking the breaching shots on that fast cam unit. Of course, he's already tagged and or narked. That's one thing that I think is kind of maybe worth mentioning as an after action thing here. There are some missiles that come in at you, but and I loaded up. I think I loaded these guys up with like double AMS. And I loaded up with the clan AMS, to get the higher percentage shots. But missiles. That's not what gets you. Not really. No, it's these big heavy Gauss rifles and PVCs for the most part. And obviously, once you've taken a couple holes in the chest, those missiles will really, crit so you can ruin your day. But if they're targeting you and you're going to go down, it's like I said, it's not the missiles. So doubling up on the AMS may not be required. To each their own. But I have a tendency to run a lot of double AMS because just in case something does get through, I don't want to get missiles into my internals. That's it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you took 100 points of damage from the heavy Gauss rifle, but it was the 3 rounds, 3 points of damage, 3 separate LRM rounds that got in there and killed you. So, so AMS and survivability, it's a big deal. But I think you can get away with going down to just the 1 AMS, maybe even just half ton of ammo. So free up a ton and a half, and then bring a little, just that much more firepower to bear. Now they're coming after the other Phoenix Hawks. I think if we're, even if we continued the fail condition past the time that the VTOLs went down, and tried to run this strategy with, just the lambs, you can start to see that even if they're just shooting at lambs, they're going to work those guys down too. So even the 11 evasion with the smoke, they're not really having that much of a problem hitting you. So is all of that evasion necessary? Mobility, you still got to get in and be able to maneuver. That's for sure. But at that point, is there a difference between having just a good, solid mobility unit that's got some firepower to it? That's going to maybe you get 6 evasion on a jump, or 7 evasion, which is normally more than adequate, for your normal survivability. But yeah, being able to bring some different weapons, with all things there's balance, and it's about finding the right combination of mobility and firepower and different unique effects that are available in the game. I have a tendency, to find something I really like and really just load up on it. Right? Like, oh, I really like 110 of those. Which, a lot of people go, well, that's not very interesting. You're a boring fella. Well, yeah, okay, but I like what I like. I like kind of exploring something all the way through. And yeah, there's a little bit of a min-maxing situation there. And so, obviously there's a lot of people like, well, you shouldn't do that. Taking away from the enjoyment of the game. And it's like, look, I played this game for thousands of hours, 1,000 hours already. I've done more than my fair share of mixed units and, playing through with different stuff that's like, well, okay, that's not the unit that I would have chosen, but that's what I've got. And I'll run that, of course. And I'll continue to play with that until I make it better or get something else that I do want. Oh, look at that. Just, and the light PVC is destroyed. Didn't kill it, but knocked out his one pea shooter. Yeah, and that was a challenge with those Phoenix Hawks too. It was like, well, where do you put that pea shooter? I chose to put it on the arms, just to get the +1 accuracy from having a lower arm, and being able to move the arm around. But yeah, arms have a tendency to get blown off, so always with the trade-offs. Well, here comes in the artillery, which at least we're not in that circle. I think at one point I lamented, like, oh, it'd be kind of nice if you could put some craters in the ground, but I think on this particular map, man, you would just have excavated almost everything. Well, what am I? Oh, okay, there we go. So that is our last VTOL. That is our last fast cam VTOL there. So that meets our fail condition. We're calling it. Here comes that cruise missile 50. Actually, the animation for that, it's unfortunately it's not going to pop up very well in this particular video, but I've seen it. It actually shoots down like 3 different, distinct cruise missiles. So when everything's running swimmingly, that's kind of neat. And of course, they're shooting at us again. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's that 38 from 40 hit. Boom. All right. Yeah, that's a big look at. But see, look, he hit some of his units too. They're all getting hit with the 49 heat, 23 heat, but they seem to be kind of taking the damage. So they're weakened, but I didn't see anything get taken off the board. So it tells you that some of this artillery is, it's survivable-ish. Yeah, there's some more there. I think maybe that knocks something out. Yeah, what do we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, we have 4 Phoenix Hawks left. Yeah, even if we hit with everything, there's no damage reduction. It's only 100 points of damage now that we can put on anything per round. Just not even enough to do very much. But we've survived into 8 rounds. you know, as people attempt this thing, maybe that's a fun thing. Maybe don't take the thing out, but like, hey, who can survive on this map the longest? You know, the fellow that was posted on Reddit, I think he mentioned he'd gotten 20 rounds in, which, based on my experience, wow, great job. I wouldn't mind, you know, fast forwarding through that playthrough just to see what you did and how you survived that long. I think you mentioned trying to go in and go in with like some piercing lasers and trying to attack the structure of the thing as opposed to the armor. You know, so which kind of makes sense because there's a lot less structure. I don't know with those different weapons that attack structure only, but most of them, funny enough, you know, have a major restriction on the amount of critical damage, you know, critical hits that they can get, even though you're attacking structure directly. So you would think it'd be the exact opposite, but you can have some balance. But yeah, going after that internal structure, if you could, yeah, right. If you have to only take out, you know, 3,000 points of internal structure in a section versus 15,000 points of armor, maybe that's a strategy, right? You know, as we did the math, you know, over the course of, if you want to take this thing out in 30 rounds, you got to average 400 points of damage on a section just to get through the armor for 30 rounds. That's a lot. That's a lot to try and deal with. So I think at this point we're just kind of taking a look around, seeing what's on the board. You know, getting a look at the different units. Is there additional you know, information to gather from this point? So you know, we're going to move in nice and close and just get a final look at this monstrosity. And you know, you can just, I don't think I've been on a map where you've seen that many different things that you could shoot at. You know, trying to look and see if I can. I think as I've gone through this, there must be a right chassis. I don't think I ever clicked on it. I clicked on the left chassis. It doesn't seem like there's a front chassis. It seems like that's that central section there. There's a rear chassis. So you have the different track sections: front, rear, front left, front right, left front, right, left rear. So we're gonna withdraw in bad faith. I'm gonna kick on over to the other my original audio and stick around for a recon report. If you stuck around for this long, I posted this and you watched all of it. Thank you for that. That's kind of cool. Hope you got some enjoyment. And if you decide to, you know, pick up the torch and carry it, take a couple shots yourself. Maybe get a video of it out there. It'd be kind of fun to watch just to see what else we can come up with. I'm going to go back to the drawing board. We've come up with some intriguing ideas. I definitely like the idea of airstrikes and seeing what that can do. So we'll take a look and see. I might get a little salvage on this anyway, even though it was a bad faith effort. So I'm curious to see what they give us. Plus we can go through our damage assessment. Let's see who died. I think it's calculating all of that right now. Hence the black screen, which is not exciting content, I'm sure. Yeah, there's good advice. Bring at least one big gun. I suspect that maybe we would have needed a lot more than one big gun. We expended 226,000 C-bills in ammunition. They expended a lot more. We'd love to see their ammunition costs. All right, well, fuck all. You ended up in there for another 34 days. Well, oh, that's a terrible XP. That's just a slap in the face. That's terrible. Not that we were in it for the XP at this point, but all right. Colby, he's out for 24 days. 28 days. Darth Snakewood killed in action. As well as Gremlin and Bastard. Oh, I took out Bastard. I had in my headcanon that one day he'd find his parents. He'd find his dad. Not gonna happen. Roadhouse. Yeah. Oh, Thumper. Thumper had been with us for a very, very long time. That's too bad. I think he was like one of my first tank guys. Well, yeah, he'd been around for a minute. Can't see all of his mission stats down there, but he'd been around. Okay, well, let's see if we get anything. Oh, look at this. We get a piece of that 150 tonner. Hell yeah. I'll take a cruise missile launcher. I'll get 2 pieces of it, but I'll have my engineers work on the rest. A Magi. UCSV. Oh, it automatically assigned this stuff. Oh. So I didn't get to pick anything. Oh, that's really disappointing. Looks like they just gave me my trash back. I can't see what I actually got here. Well, let me scroll down. 12 items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's possible. I hope I got a piece of that. Let's see. We'll find out. I'll stick around and see if we got a piece of that. Or Magi. Because if I got a piece of that through the magic of the Battletech save editor, I can then field it. And at this point in the game, I have no problem doing that. My headcanon is that I've fought on both capital cities of the FedCom Civil War and helped straighten that out on both New Avalon and Tarked. And the Davions owe me, so they just supply me with everything I want. When it comes to the expenditures of nation states, it's a drop in the bucket. Yellow Jacket destroyed. Yellow Jacket destroyed. Hail Fastman destroyed. 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 We need to do some mech repairs. Yeah, we are. A lot. Snakewood. Gremlin. Bastard. Bumper. That was a costly battle. As it should have been. And just look at our injuries up there. Oh my gosh. That's a lot of casualties. Alright. I won't bore you with the memorial wall. I will grieve in my own time. But let's go see if we got a piece of that 150 tonner. That would make it worthwhile. Oh, yep. Take a look at our vehicle bay. Yeah, that's rough. Everything we took. Yeah. Let's go into storage. Oh, we did not. What is this? Oh, that's something I had before. Oh no. So we did not get a piece of that 150 ton vehicle. Unfortunate. Did we get the Magi? It was what, 70 ton? And it doesn't look like we got the Magi either. Alright. Well. Okay. Well, that's our damage assessment. And our after action report. So
Personnel will be outside the ship. Do not rotate, radiate, or energize any external electronic equipment.
Edit this video. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you sometime in the future. Maybe 3068. Take care. Okay. Well, so this is a bit of an extra debrief here. Let's kind of just review everything that we just saw. I went through and got some screen grabs of the Rattler. We're going to take this mission as a reconnaissance mission, and this is what we learned here. So the main central segment of the Rattler Mobile Fortress Mark II, there's the screen grab, 15,000 armor points for that main central section, 4,250 structure points. So yeah, that's a tough nut to crack, even if it wasn't shooting back at you, right? As I mentioned in the video, this is a turret icon versus like a tank icon per se. So it doesn't have sides. It's just 15,000 points to crack it. It is labeled as a vehicle, right? Assault, 10,500 tons. So obviously it's going to go last there in phase 1. But this is just the main segment. So it lists its weaponry as twin Imperial heavy Gauss. So just reading that line, that's 2 Gauss rifles. But then there's 2 Gauss rifles listed underneath that. So is that 2 Gauss rifles? Is that 4 Gauss rifles? I don't know. But we have 2 AMS. Oh, and it does melee damage, 5,250. The thing does move, so it could theoretically charge you. So if that's modified by the number of hexes it took to charge you, you're dead. You're dead. Yeah, if it hits you, it runs you over. So, yeah, that's just the main segment. These are the bonuses it has, and this is where it kills you. Rattler TTS, the control command functions to the turrets. So the turrets get a +4 to hit and ignore 2 evasion. So as I mentioned in the video, go ahead and just take 6 off your evasion there with these fast units. So even if you've got a 9, it's only really a 3. Rattler, you're not going to bleed it out like a tank, so that sucks. I don't think it's going to take pilot damage. Its ballistic damage is increased, so it gets 10% more damage on top of those heavy Gauss rifles there. So that's fun. That needed help. Ballistic attacks gain +1 accuracy. Okay, so now go ahead and take what's that, 7 off of your evasion essentially. Bulwark, 15% damage reduction. Area of effect attacks going to be reduced. I don't think anybody's worried about trying to make it unstable. It's C3I capable there. Oh, so it's another +1 to hit. So it's probably going to hit you almost no matter what you do. So trying to avoid getting hit is almost not even worth the time, because it's probably going to be able to hit you. We use the smoke strategy, which maybe added a +2 to kind of negate that, just make it normal ranges. But you're barely going to be able to mitigate its ability to hit you. So it shares that targeting with everything around it as well. It's a +2 bonus to resolve. I don't know if it uses the resolve powers. I don't know how much of an issue that is, but they put it in there, so maybe it does. Throw attacks got Guardian ECM. Oh, so that's +2 penalty to hit with missile attacks. Missiles, as you'll see, not even worth trying. We already saw 2 AMS in the central section, and so let's break down these additional sections here. So Rattler chassis left, LR20 twin SRM6s, LR20 2 ER larges, 2 twin ER larges. Maybe it's 4 ER larges. Machine guns if you're right up on top of it. Hey, it only does a melee of 50. But this section also has 15,000. I'm thinking I might have missed the stats for Rattler chassis left or right, the right sides. There's probably a right side. I know there's a rear side, so we'll see that. Rattler tower, that's got the subcapital laser on there. That thing is super, super dangerous. I know that as we were looking on this thing, like, well, where's that cruise 50 missile coming from? Well, if you saw at the end of the video, and it just hit me as I was editing this, one of the potential um, things that we could have won as salvage if we earned any was the Kalki cruise missile carrier. That is separate from the Rattler, and it carries the cruise missile. That's a huge piece of information because theoretically it would be a whole lot easier to get in there, take that part out, and at least get rid of that cruise missile as a factor fairly on. It's like 130 or 150 ton tank, but you can get in there and get it. And you hit it with enough Inferno or whatever your strategy is. By the way, tanks have sides, so you only have to take down one side of it. So that's kind of a doable objective, is to get in there and knock out that cruise missile carrier. So just even finding out that thing's separate from the Rattler is a huge piece of intel, I think, that we gathered. So moving on, yeah, the Rattler Tower, though, the Barracuda missiles, the subcapital lasers, 4 AMS, right? So now we're up to 6 AMSs so far. And I think we think that Rattler Tower is something that you might want to take out, because the subcapital laser is probably going to jack you up pretty good. If you can get the subcapital laser out, I think the Barracuda is it's survivable. It's like a double arrow 4. I think you can take a hit or two from that if you have a big enough unit. But the subcapital laser and the cruise missile 50 gotta get knocked out. Just taking out this Rattler Tower seems like the way to go. Rattler left rear track. All right, long tom artillery, arrow 4, twin ER largest, twin SRF6s, another AMS. Yeah, I'm losing count of how many AMSs we have here because I'm moving to the Rattler chassis rear. There's 2 more AMSs, 2 ER large lasers. By the way, all these sections can hit you, even if you're thinking about sneaking up on it, getting behind it. I don't think there's a blind spot at all. All these sections are going to be able to hit you. Like I said, they're turrets, right? So they've got a 360 degree radius of fire. I don't think it blocks its own radius. So, but so all the chassis parts have 15,000. I don't know. Still, do you have to crack all of them? Do you just have to crack one? Hopefully, you only have to crack one. Rattler rear trackers into the Barracuda. Twin ER larges, twin SR6s, another AMS. Rattler right front, long tom arrow 4, ER large, SR6, another AMS. Rattler left front, another Barracuda, similar configuration, and another AMS. So yeah, I think we're 10 AMSs on this thing. You're not. The good thing is they're interfering AMSs, it looks like, and not clan. So there's a slight advantage there. Let's go over just some of the notes that I put together. So this mission, this was what I called the Cobra Kai method, right? To try and use smoke and fast cam. If your enemy can't see, you can't fight. Fast cam, sweep the legs. If you can't stand, you can't fight. So the smoke was relatively easy to lay down. We went in with our yellow jackets, and the yellow jackets, I think they were all wiped out by round 3. So they had those mortar 8s on there, and they could have laid more fast cam. They never got a chance to, but they were able to lay down some smoke, and then they were gone. They were dead. So high mobility unit, right? Getting 8 or 9 evasion per movement phase there. But the Rattler has so many buffs, and it's those Gauss rifles really that are just sniping you out of the air, right? Like it's nothing. So that proved to be definitely a deterrent to using VTOL anywhere near that thing, right? I don't even know what the range is on improved Gauss. It's probably much higher, 1200 or something. So you're boned. That's what it comes down to. The smoke, like I said, that felt like it was a pretty good thing, that if you can get some of it down early, it doesn't take much for it to affect everyone. Fast cam is absolutely fantastic, especially dealing with all these additional OP4 support units. You can get a good amount of it down. I was only using 1 LRM on those Hail artillery vehicles, which was 1 LRM laying down per unit. I only had like 4 or 5 of those units, and I was able to put down a significant carpet of fast cam. It just fixed everything in place and kept them from having any sort of mobility. So strategy that uses fast cam. Fast cam's easy enough to incorporate onto any sort of unit. All you need is an LRM rack, and you can get that fast cam down. Definitely recommend using the augmented fast cam because it puts down a wider carpet. And why the heck not if you've got it? So definitely fast cam is part of that strategy. I mentioned the Hail artillery vehicle and tag barrage. Unlimited artillery support. Cool, really just a cool feature and pretty neat. I think we only got 1 tag barrage off before all of those artillery vehicles were destroyed. But it was a good idea, and I don't think now knowing how much damage we've really got to plug into this thing, I think the tag barrage only does like 100 points of damage, right? So if we got 3 strikes on that thing, we only did 300 points of damage. Now granted, it's spread out over all these units if you can get it all to hit. But remember, that Rattler can move, and it did. So it wasn't the most effective. It was we proved the efficacy of it, but is that the most super effective strategy? No, probably not. PPC sensor debuff. I did go back and look and see where we'd hit the Rattler with a PPC strike, and that PPC debuff does work. So if you can somehow get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe, I don't know if it was like 10. I know I've seen it at 9. If you can get it, hit each segment somehow with 9 PPCs, that Rattler's not going to be able to hit you. So good luck figuring out how to do that. But that debuff is a way to mitigate all of the crazy bonuses. And if it can't hit you, it can't hurt you, right? It's just a scary light show at that point. So maybe an insane amount of like light PPCs
maybe that's a way to go. You still have to figure out how to navigate that artillery situation, but once you get out those big artillery units and then you're coming with censored, debuff, you might have a strategy there. High mobility, 9+ evasive on units. For the lambs, we were getting 11 evasive, and they towards the end, once they were getting shot at, dedicated, they were getting hit too. So even 11 evasive with all the buffs, they were still able to get hit and get taken out. So, but the one advantage that they had is that they could absolutely get out of the range of those, those massive artillery strikes, those 30 hex, diameter strikes there. So, so there's something to that. Is the Phoenix Hawk the right unit for it? Probably not, because you can't carry enough weapons. Right, there might be a heavier lamb in the game, or some kind of. The problem with the lambs is they're not very customizable, right? Because you can't customize the the engines and stuff like that. It's all kind of locked in, so you're kind of stuck with that stuff. Anti-aircraft, taking out those yellow jackets didn't really seem to be like it worked, in the sense that we were able to hit those units, but we didn't have the firepower to do much damage. So, and it turned out that maybe that wasn't the most important thing either. It was kind of a half-baked thing. Yeah, it was. Like I said, yeah, it was functional, but is that our biggest problem to solve? No, not at all. So I don't think I would utilize any sort of strategy like that again. Our units here that we took, remember we took the Heli artillery unit vehicle with the augmented fast cam, the yellow jacket with mortar 8, which I think that's still like a really great upgrade versus, the Gauss rifles. But if you could find another way to lay smoke, because that's all those guys did was lay smoke, so maybe bring yellow jackets that keep them at a distance, and you might have some survivability with them. I don't know. The Phoenix Hawks lambs, max armor and light PVCs, fantastic mobility, fairly decent survivability, all things considered. But the light PVC just there wasn't a whole lot of room or weight available to put anything heavier on there. So is the Phoenix Hawk lamb the best choice? No. Are lambs almost necessary for survivability? Yes. So it's just maybe a matter of finding the right one. Our objectives here: get visual confirmation, obtain Rattler specifications, confirm PVC debuff, smoke, fast cam, anti-air, all this stuff we just talked about, and then defeat the Rattler. So I guess we could debrief that here at the end. Did we get visual confirmation? Yes, we did. That was actually a success. That was a key point of what is now become a reconnaissance mission. Did we obtain Rattler specifications? Yes, we did. Yes, we got almost everything we needed. Looks like we missed one of the chassis parts there, but we now know roughly what we're dealing with. Not quite sure exactly how to crack the egg, but we know where the egg is, how the egg is built a little bit. So PVC debuff, I think there's something to that. So that was a success. Confirmed smoke is effective. Yes, successful. Fast cam, hugely successful. Anti-aircraft efficacy, moderate success, but the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Confirm the tag barrage. Tag barrage, really great weapon. Love it. Not enough. And then the land mobility. You have to have that high mobility. And I'm calling it a moderate success because it just wasn't able to bring enough firepower. And then did we defeat the Rattler? Not even freaking close. Just a couple other notes on things that we learned back up here. Op 4 starts 6 lances of heavy and assault max, heavily modified, increased damage. Most of them have +2 actually unique damage buffs. Those are worded Blake lances, so that's 6 times 6 maybe. If it's 6 times 4, that's 24 max. If it's 6 times 6, it's 36. It's some combination in between. You're basically going up against a whole regiment plus the Rattler. Rattler's composed of multiple segments, each armed with teeth. We figured that out. The Rattler can in fact move. We saw it move. 3 to 4 hexes. And as I mentioned earlier, that Kalki cruise missile launcher carries the cruise missile, not the Rattler. So I feel like that was the most, maybe the most valuable detail that we learned, in this playthrough. So this thing's a monster. To the best of my knowledge, nobody's ever beaten it, and maybe no one ever will, or maybe it'll be you. Maybe it'll be me. I think I'm gonna try again, but I'm gonna definitely go and see what else is out there to try and take this thing down again. I'm gonna be looking for something that does that sensor debuff. Maybe that I can carry on a lamb or a fast attack unit. But I'm also curious that I might come in and do some proof of concept videos as well. Or just see, can we drop some battle armor on it? What would happen if we tried? Can we overheat it? I didn't see a heat indicator as this thing was firing or anything, but maybe that's worth a shot. If it's a turret or a vehicle or both, it should be susceptible to to Inferno rounds. The question is, like, how much do you need to bring? If we're gonna go after that Kalki cruise missile tank, well, that's a really good place to start thinking. How can we overheat these things and blow them up? So, so that's kind of the mission debrief here. Thanks for watching. If you have watched this, hopefully you found it informative. It doesn't seem like there's a million people out there trying to go after this thing, but I imagine the people who have gotten to the point where they're thinking about doing this, you've spent a lot of hours in the game and in the setting and in the environment, and so hopefully this provides some really good intelligence, and I hope maybe you take a shot at it. And like I said, I'd love to see someone knock this thing down, and I suppose there's a prize too. Bloody Dobbs, as I understand, is the creator. He's there on Reddit. I've read a little bit of some of the things he's posted, and so go thank that guy and see if you can't beat this monstrosity that he constructed, because this is definitely a challenge. Like I said, it feels like it's on the edge of doability. I think the other fellow was posting about his previous attempts, considered a 1 in 14 million chance. Never tell me the odds, I suppose. But once again, yeah, if you've watched this, thanks for watching. And I'm not a YouTuber, that's probably obvious, and editing sucks, but this is an intel gathering mission. Not trying to create content for content's sake. If I do more, it'll be more intel gathering and that sort of thing. And all right, good luck, everybody.